says, I have not left the verse yet. Paul says, for I reckon, here it is, that the sufferings of this present time. Pastor Monroe, can I tell you what I love about it? The sufferings of the present time are just that, for the present time. You missed it. Let me say it again for those of you that rode the short bus to church. The sufferings of the present time are just that, for the present. Y'all ain't got it. Let me see if they'll catch it over here. The sufferings of the present time are just that, for the y'all ain't got it. Let me preach to the choir. The sufferings of the present time are just that, for the present. Y'all ain't got it. Let me talk to the musicians. The sufferings of this present time are just that, for the present time. I don't see why nobody's shouting in this house. The sufferings of this present, I just preached to myself. The sufferings of this present time are just that, for the present time. And I don't know who I'm preaching to, but I wonder, is there anybody in this building that knows that trouble don't last always? And I don't know who I'm preaching to, but I come to tell you that your trouble is only temporary, and that where you are now speaks nothing to what God has for you later. Dr. John Robert Adolph puts it like this. He says that your present condition does not determine your future outcome. In other words, where you are now speaks nothing to what God has for you later. You might be living in an apartment now, but God's got a house waiting on you later. You might be in an A and B car away and back now, but God got a luxury vehicle for you later. You might be flipping burgers at McDonald's right now, but God's got your own business waiting on you later. And I don't know who I'm preaching to, but I wish I had somebody in here that had enough holy boldness to just look at your neighbor and just tell your neighbor, neighbor, you see where I'm at now, but you have no idea to where. Y'all ain't talking to nobody. I bind this spirit of disobedience in this church. Will you just touch your neighbor and just tell your neighbor, say, neighbor, tell them you see where I'm at now, but you have no idea to where God is trying to take me. And I don't claim to be a prophet, but can I just prophesy for about 30 seconds and tell you that I see you in the future, and you look much better than you do right now. Is there anybody in this house today that can get excited because you might be down right now, but you won't be down always? You might be crying right now, but you won't be crying always. I just feel like preaching my brains out. You might be lonely right now, but you won't be lonely always. You might be depressed right now, but you won't be depressed always. You might be pacing the floor right now, but you won't be pacing the floor always. You might be divorced right now, but you won't be divorced always. Is there anybody in the building that knows that trouble is only temporary? Will you just touch your neighbor and just tell your neighbor, trouble don't last always. Trouble don't last. Touch somebody and tell them trouble don't last. Whew. That was the wrong neighbor that you told that to, because they didn't shout. Touch somebody else and tell them trouble don't last. I see y'all ain't coming to have church. Trouble don't last. Catch this, catch this. Let me see. I believe David understood that when he put it like this. He said, weeping may endure for a night, but joy. See, y'all missing y'all shout. Joy comes in the morning. And I wonder, is there anybody in this building that know it might be all right for weeping to spend the night? But touch your neighbor and tell them in the morning you got company coming. Because joy, I felt a holler right there. Joy is coming. Let me see if I can make this live for you. My little brother and little sister Jonathan and Simone Adolph are in love with the Dallas Cowboys. They are in love with the Dallas Cowboys. They are so much in love with the Dallas Cowboys that they think any team on the TV is the Cowboys. It can be the Giants versus the Redskins, and they'll say which one is the Cowboys because they're in love with the Cowboys. And not too long ago, when they celebrated their birthday, a member of our church by the name of Dr. Portia White bought them these gifts for their birthday. And inside of the gifts was a whole bunch of Dallas Cowboy stuff. They had a Dallas Cowboy Connect 4 game. They had Dallas Cowboy gear on. They had all this type of stuff. But inside of the present, tell somebody and say inside of the present, they had a Dallas Cowboy linebacker dummy. And so Jonathan and Simone went to pastor and said, Daddy, blow the dummy up. And they kept saying, Daddy, blow the dummy up. And so I'm sitting in the back room trying to take a nap, and Jonathan and Simone come in the room and say, look, we got our dummy. So Jonathan goes over to the dummy and he hits the dummy. The dummy goes back, but it bounces back up. He gets angry, so he hits the dummy again. The dummy went back and it came back up. So his big sister Simone says, what you can't do, I can. So she went over to the dummy and she hit the dummy. The dummy went back and it came back up. She hit it with all of her might and it went back and it came back up. So Simone says, maybe you've got to hit it from another angle. So she hit it on the side. It leaned over and then it came back up. She hit it on the other side. It leaned over and it came back up. So about that time, they looked at me and they said, Josh, we know if we can't do it, you can do it. So I got out of the bed and I hit the dummy, and the dummy went back and it came back up. I hit it again and it went back and it came back up. So about this time, Jonathan says, why can't we hit the dummy and the dummy stayed down? And I love what Simone said. Simone said the reason the dummy can't stay down is because it's something on the inside of it that keeps making it bounce back. And I don't know who I'm preaching to, but I wonder, is there anybody in this building that can say the reason I can't stay down is because I got something on the inside that keeps me bouncing back? Because greater is he that is in me than he that's in the world. Will you just touch your neighbor one time and just tell your neighbor, tell him I got bounce back in me. The devil might knock me down, but I keep bouncing back. Folk might lie on me, but I keep bouncing back. Folk might talk about me, but I keep bouncing back. Folk don't like me, but I keep bouncing back. Folk talk about me, but I keep bouncing back. Folk scandalize my name, but I keep bouncing back. Touch your neighbor one time and say, neighbor, I got bounce back in me. I don't need everybody, but I just wish I had just one person in the building that's been done wrong one time in your life. I wish I had just one person in the building that had to cry one time in your life. I wish I had one person in the building that's been down before, but you know that God somehow helped you to bounce back. Just touch your neighbor and just pull on your neighbor. Just pull. I said pull on your neighbor. Pull on your neighbor one time and say, neighbor, I don't see y'all pulling nobody. Pull on your neighbor and say, neighbor, I don't care what you're going through. Tell them, neighbor, you gotta bounce back. Tell them you gotta bounce back. You gotta bounce out of depression. You gotta bounce out of low self-esteem. You gotta bounce back out of fornication. You gotta bounce back out of adultery. You gotta bounce back because greater is he that is in me than he that's in the world. Just touch your neighbor and tell him, neighbor, I'm gonna bounce back. I'm through.